Hello there! We are doing some reliability testing with the Ruger LCP Lite Rack and 22 long rifle. This is a gun that I've had for about 10 months now and I've done a lot of testing on. It's a really light, really compact gun that holds 10 rounds, and what I've done is I've got 5 magazines here loaded up with Federal Punch. And I've shot this gun a lot, and I've done some reliability work on it to make it a little bit better, but I wanted to shoot 50 rounds through it here and see if I can induce some malfunctions. So we're going to be doing basically 5 different ways of testing it here. So we're going to do 10 rounds with both hands on the gun, 10 rounds with one hand on the gun, 10 rounds with one hand offhand on the gun, and then we're going to practice some retention shooting. So 20 rounds of retention shooting, and we'll do a mixture of the kind of like clinch style retention shooting and then the kind of like hackathorn over the head over the gun style. Now, this gun's a blowback gun, even though the barrel looks like it's recoil operated. It's still a blowback gun. So I don't expect it to have any sort of reliability issues with the different positions, but we'll see if we can just induce regular malfunctions with this gun. So, alrighty, we're not shooting any sort of specific drills here. We're just going to kind of take our time. Or not take our time per se, but, you know, do what we're doing here. So like I said, I've got 9 in the gun, plus the, or 9 in the magazine, plus the 1 in the chamber here. So... And the gun did not lock open there. With how tiny it is, it doesn't require a whole lot of force to actually ride the slide release. And admittedly, with this being a self-defense gun, that might be like an annoying thing, but truthfully, you're probably not reloading your backup gun. So I'm not too worried about the gun not locking open. And if it, you know, we get a click, we can do tap rack, see the gun's empty, and then, you know, go from there. So, alrighty, we're gonna insert our new magazine. Of course, no malfunctions there with 2 hands on the gun. And we're just gonna do 10 rounds one-handed here. So... And we locked open there just fine. I have my thumb tucked a little bit more into the frame, so I wouldn't do that, but more so because it gives better texturing. Let's put 10 more into it. Now, I did clean this gun yesterday before I started doing this testing here. So, I you know, nice and clean, but not over lubricated, because that can sometimes lead to issues on these tiny guns here, so. We have a failure to go into battery here. It looks like the round stovepiped on the side of the chamber, so I'm gonna give it a tap there and it just goes into battery, so okay. Yep, okay, we just had a failure to lock open there, and I think part of it is that my grip being as high as it is, maybe the recoil impulse there, it is what it is there. So far we've had one failure to go into battery that was remediated, but kind of just touching the slide. So, alrighty, we're gonna get a little bit closer here. And we'll start with the hackathorn method of kind of like we tuck in, elbow comes to the rib cage, we go over top. This is not a style of retention shooting that I would really recommend or necessarily do, but it's good for testing out reliability of the gun. So we're gonna come over here and like do this. Yep, locked open just fine there. Okay, and we've got our last 10 rounds here. We will do clinch style, so I'm going to come in a little bit closer. My elbow is going to go behind, or not my elbow, my hand's going behind my head, so my elbow's out of the way. We're going to tuck in real close here. Ooh, look at that. So we had a reliability issue here where the round we just fired slipped off the extractor. You can see there that it's got the firing pin hit. Of course, the round fired. We're going to lock it open, get that round out of there, and we will remediate. Of course, if we needed to use the gun or we were doing a drill here, we would do it a little bit faster, but since we're testing, I'm going to go slow to kind of evaluate what the malfunctions are. So, we're going to tuck in clinch style again, and it worked that time. So the one malfunction there. Now, one of the things I did here too is I marked the magazine. So our number 4 magazine had that mouth. That, admittedly though, that was not an issue that was caused by a magazine. The one of the things I've noticed on this gun, and it'll be in the full review, the extractor, it doesn't have a ton of tension on it. And it's not because I've worn out the extractor. That's kind of how it's been. So you can kind of hear it. I'm gonna get close to the camera. You can hear that. The extractor, I can see how it could pretty easily slip off of a casing. And looking at the extractor geometry, it's not really gonna show up. I've worn off the finish, but the extractor claw is not missing any chunks or broken. So we fired 50 rounds there. We had 2 malfunctions, one that was remediated by kind of just touching the gun, and then one that was caused by a failure to extract because the extractor slipped off the rim. Truthfully, you know, of course, you'll have to do your own testing on one of these if you buy one. This is a gun that I found to be sufficiently reliable for the type of backup carry that I use when I do use it. Now, generally speaking, I'm actually carrying a revolver these days for reasons that, even though this is a blowback gun, I want to have a revolver that if I shoot from the clinch or something like that, I know it's going to work. I can shoot it through clothing if I absolutely had to, as low chance that may be. And then the revolver, for me, I spend a lot of time with people who are familiar with guns but don't carry on their own, and a revolver is a simpler gun that I can hand to somebody if I absolutely needed to, rather than this, right? Because this has some, more moving parts and more buttons on it, but revolver's like trigger and the cylinder release, and that's all you have to worry about. So, yeah, but generally speaking, I really like this gun. It's a great little carry gun, a little tiny thing, and, truthfully, I ended up carrying it in my gym shorts more often than not. Thank you for watching.